Every man carries within himself the seeds of greatness. But not every man sees them sprout, because not every man cultivates the right habits. You may have a clear vision. You may possess raw desire. You may even write down your goals and repeat them with faith. But unless you install success habits into the very rhythm of your life, into your actions, your thoughts, your decisions, then success will remain something you chase rather than something you become. Let me tell you a truth I've learned through the lives of the most accomplished men I ever studied. Success is not an event. It is a habit. It is not a moment you arrive at. It is a momentum you build. And the men who rise and stay risen are those who do not rely on willpower alone, but have programmed discipline into their daily lives. They do not leave excellence to chance. They turn it into a system. And that system becomes a structure that serves them, even when motivation fades, even when fear knocks, even when fatigue whispers, not today. The average man thinks success is about doing something big once. The successful man knows it's about doing the small things with precision over and over again until they define who you are. And if you can master that, if you can build habits that run deeper than resistance, you won't just act successful. You will become it. You'll feel it in your body, in your speech, in the way you walk into a room, because it will no longer be effort. It will be identity. Now understand this. Programming success habits into your DNA does not happen by accident. It happens by intention. And it starts with one decision, that you will no longer let life program you passively. You will program yourself deliberately, consistently, powerfully, because if you do not choose your habits, your environment will choose them for you. And the world, left unchecked, will program you to doubt, to delay, to self-sabotage, and to settle. But if you take back the pen, if you begin writing the script of your days with clarity and conviction, then your habits will no longer be reactions. They will be reflections of your future. Let's begin there. The first and most critical step is to realize this. Your habits must be rooted in identity, not outcome. Most people build habits around what they want to achieve. They say things like, I want to lose weight, or I want to get rich, or I want to be successful. But wanting is not becoming. And the man who builds his habits around outcomes will always abandon them when the outcome feels far away. The man who builds his habits around who he is becoming, though, will persist, because every repetition is a vote for that identity. So instead of saying, I want to become successful, say, I am a man of discipline. Instead of saying, I want to get fit, say, I am the kind of person who never misses. You see the difference? One depends on results. The other depends on repetition. And repetition is the mother of mastery. Every time you follow through, every time you keep your word, every time you say no to the old and yes to the new, you're not just completing a task. You're casting a vote for the identity of a high-level performer. And over time, those votes add up. They form a self-image. And once a man's self-image changes, his behavior becomes automatic. Now let's talk about how that image is shaped. The subconscious mind is your soil. Habits are the seeds. What you plant, water, and repeat will grow. The subconscious accepts every repeated action and thought as instruction. It does not argue. It does not judge. It simply obeys. So when you repeat a behavior, good or bad, with emotion and consistency, your subconscious begins to automate it. This is why bad habits are so difficult to break. They've been installed through repetition. But here's the good news. The subconscious can be reprogrammed at will. And once new patterns are installed, they no longer require effort. They become who you are. So how do we reprogram the mind? We begin by designing your days like a master architect, not by mood, but by standard. That means identifying the habits that reflect the future version of you and building them into your daily non-negotiables. Not if I feel like it habits. Non-negotiables. That means you don't get to skip your planning because you're tired. You don't get to skip your focus time because someone calls. You don't negotiate with your standards, you live by them. Because success doesn't care how you feel. Success responds to structure. And structure is what turns ambition into transformation. Now, many people struggle to build habits because they overestimate motivation and underestimate environment. So listen closely. Your environment is either reinforcing your habits or resisting them. If your space is filled with distraction, clutter, and low-energy people, you will be fighting a losing battle. But if your environment is clear, focused, and filled with the cues that trigger success, you make it easier to win. The most successful people design their world to support their behavior. That means eliminating temptation. That means surrounding yourself with high-performance cues. That means scheduling your time in advance, not reacting to every demand. This isn't obsessive. It's efficient. Because discipline is expensive, but distraction is bankrupting. And your environment either pays you or robs you every single day. Now let's go deeper. If you truly want success habits to live in your DNA, you must apply what I call the law of congruence. That law says this: your behavior will always try to match your self-image. So if you say, I want to be wealthy, but you still see yourself as someone who always struggles, your mind will create habits that match the old image. You'll sabotage, you'll delay, you'll quit early. But if you change the self-image first, the habits will follow. And the fastest way to change that image is to start acting like the person you want to be before you feel like it. Not fake it, practice it. Speak how that person would speak. Walk how that person would walk. Make decisions how that person would decide. Because your mind believes what you do most often. And if you practice success even before you see the results, eventually your mind will catch up and say, this is who I am now. From that place, habits become automatic. Now I want you to understand the deeper truth here. You are not trying to build discipline, you are trying to become a disciplined person. You are not trying to act confident. You are trying to become a confident person. You are not trying to touch success. You are trying to build a life where success is inevitable. That shift from doing to being is the difference between temporary change and transformation. And transformation is what puts success in your DNA. But you must commit. You must build daily rituals that align with your future, not your feelings. You must become ruthless about what you allow in your space, your mind, and your mouth. You must speak in alignment with what you're building, even when you don't yet believe it. Because your words are seeds, your routines are roots, and your standards are scaffolding. And if you raise your standards high enough, the world will have no choice but to rise to meet you. That is the beginning. That is how you take success out of theory and install it into your life, your character, your very breath. Because when you live like this, when habits are no longer tasks but truths, you no longer chase success, you carry it. If you've made the decision to build your life from structure rather than from circumstance, then you're already ahead of 99% of the world. Because most people are not living, they are reacting. They are pulled from one distraction to the next, from one emotion to another, building nothing solid and wondering why their life feels hollow. But you've chosen something different. You've chosen to become the kind of person whose habits do the heavy lifting. Now, let me show you how to go from building good habits to making them unbreakable. Because surface-level routines will crumble the moment resistance rises. But habits that are programmed into your identity, reinforced by vision and supported by daily proof, those habits become permanent. They are no longer something you do. They are who you are. And that is the secret to automation. The key lies in what I call the triad of lasting change: belief, behavior, and repetition. Let's begin with belief. Every habit you attempt to build will eventually conform to the dominant beliefs you hold about yourself. If you believe deep down that you are inconsistent, then no matter how many productivity books you read or systems you build, your behavior will return to that belief. Because the subconscious mind must maintain congruency between identity and action. You cannot outperform the belief that governs you. So what must you do? You must create a new belief system, one that serves your future. And this does not happen through hope, it happens through repetition and evidence. That means affirming with intensity. I am disciplined, I am consistent, I follow through. It means visualizing daily, not what you want, but who you are becoming. And most importantly, it means taking one aligned action each day that serves as evidence of the new identity, one decision, one refusal to delay, one task completed even when it wasn't convenient. Every action becomes a brick in the wall of your new belief. And once your subconscious begins to accept that belief, the resistance fades. Your habits no longer feel forced, they feel natural. You begin to operate from power, not pressure. That's the power of internal programming. Now we move to behavior. Most people fail not because they lack desire, but because they try to change everything at once. Success is not built through grand declarations. It is built through micro decisions repeated consistently, reinforced by a compelling why, and tracked through feedback. So don't focus on everything, focus on one thing. What is the one keystone habit that, if mastered, would elevate every area of your life? For some, it's rising early. For others, it's planning the day in advance. For many, it's mastering their first hour of the morning, what I call the sacred hour. Because how you start your day sets the rhythm for how you think, how you feel, and how you respond. If you win your morning, you win your mind. And once the mind is under your direction, so too will be your time, your attention, your decisions. So choose your keystone habit and guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. And then we arrive at repetition. You will not succeed because of intensity. You will succeed because of consistency. And consistency is built when habits are made obvious, simple, and satisfying. If your new habit requires too much friction to begin, you won't follow through. So make it easy to start. If you want to read more, place the book on your pillow each morning. If you want to exercise daily, lay out your clothes the night before. If you want to journal, keep the notebook within reach of your bed. These are not small things, these are everything. Because success habits are not formed through struggle, they are formed through structure. Make it easy to begin, and your brain will begin to crave completion. That craving is what creates momentum. And momentum, once built, is the most powerful force in personal transformation. Now let's talk about how to protect your habits once they've begun to grow. Because success isn't just about starting strong, it's about staying steady. And to stay steady, you must apply the law of personal accountability. This law says, what you track, you improve. If you are not measuring your habits, you are not managing them. So build a system for self-accountability. It could be a habit tracker, a morning checklist, or a nightly review. What matters is not the tool, but the consistency of using it. Because when you track, you see progress. And progress fuels persistence. Now let me speak to the moments of failure, because they will come. You will break a streak, you will miss a day, you will fall short of your standard. That is not the end. That is part of the pattern. What matters most is not perfection, but recovery speed. When you fall off track, the question is, how fast do you return? 1 day missed is an event. 2 days missed becomes a pattern. 3 days missed becomes a new habit in the wrong direction. So when you fall, rise immediately. Not with shame, not with guilt, with clarity. Failure is not failure when it becomes feedback. Now, let me introduce another principle, one that will change your relationship with effort forever. It is what I call the threshold of identity pain. This is the invisible line where your old habits collide with your new identity. It's the moment when you feel most resistant, most frustrated, most tempted to go back. But this moment, this threshold, is actually the doorway to a new level of power. Because when you push through the resistance, when you complete the habit, even when your mind screams, quit, something rewires inside you. You expand, you shift, you become. And the next time you face that threshold, it's no longer terrifying. It's familiar. And soon, it becomes easy. Because you've built strength at the level where most people retreat. That is how success habits become part of your DNA. You cross the threshold again and again until it's no longer a line. It's just your standard. So what is the final truth? It is this. You are not building habits. You are building a life. Every day you rise early, every time you plan with intention, every time you speak with clarity, every time you keep your word, you are not just moving closer to success. You are becoming it. And when enough of those habits have compounded, when enough votes have been cast for your future self, you will wake up one day and realize, this is no longer hard. This is who I am now. That, my friend, is the moment you've been working for. When excellence no longer feels like effort, when performance no longer feels like pressure, when achievement is no longer forced, because success has become your nature, and that is the mark of a truly powerful man. A man whose standards no longer fluctuate, a man whose decisions no longer negotiate with emotion, a man whose habits serve his vision even when the world around him sleeps. That man is who you are becoming. By now, if you followed this message, you are no longer the same. You are not just a man of potential. You are a man of practice. You are not chasing success. You are crafting it, one action, one standard, one routine at a time. But now comes the real challenge. It's not in starting your habits. It's in making them immortal. You see, many people can build habits for a month, some even for a year. But very few ever embed them into their character so deeply that no environment, no failure, no emotional downturn can shake them loose. That is the final stage. That is when success is no longer an achievement, but your operating system. It is no longer something you reach for. It is what you default to. And that only happens when your habits are not just attached to your goals, but to your values. So ask yourself now, clearly and honestly, what do I value most? Is it discipline? Is it growth? Is it peace? Is it mastery? Because the habits that last are always the ones that are anchored to your values. If you value clarity, then you will always return to planning. If you value progress, then you will always come back to learning and building. If you value integrity, then you will never abandon the routines that make you proud of who you are when no one is watching. When your habits and your values are aligned, there is no more internal resistance. The battle ends, and success begins to move through you naturally, without friction. But here's what most people don't understand. The moment you stop upgrading your habits is the moment your old life begins calling you back. You cannot coast in this work. There is no neutral. You are either reinforcing the identity of success or allowing it to decay. And if you let just one old habit return, if you allow one standard to drop, if you let one compromise become routine, it will not stop there. It will grow. Habits multiply in both directions. So you must remain vigilant, not paranoid, not afraid, focused, because your future depends on it. You see, when your habits are pure, your mind is sharp. When your habits are strong, your vision is clear. When your habits are aligned, your results are automatic. But most importantly, when your habits are rooted in truth, you are unshakable. That is the reward of this work. Now, let me speak directly to the voice in your head that still wonders if it's possible. The voice that says, what if I fail again? What if I'm not built for this? What if I slip back into my old ways? I will tell you exactly what to say to that voice. Say this: Even if I fall, I will rise again. Even if I miss, I will return stronger. Even if it takes time, I will not stop until my habits match the man I was born to be. That kind of declaration destroys doubt. Because the truth is, you do not need to be perfect to be powerful. You do not need to be flawless to be formidable. You only need to persist. And you will. Because now you know how. Now you know that your habits shape your identity, and your identity dictates your destiny. Now you know that success is not a lightning strike. It is a daily choice. Now you know that your subconscious obeys what you repeat, not what you merely intend. Now you know that your environment must be crafted, not inherited. Now you know that structure creates freedom and chaos creates collapse. Now you know that motivation is unreliable, but standards are unbreakable. And now, most importantly, you know that you are not just capable of transformation. You are responsible for it. This is the work. This is the path. This is the blueprint. But only you can walk it. Only you can say, I will no longer hope for change, I will create it. Only you can decide today, right now. From this moment forward, I build my life around the habits of the man I am becoming. That man does not snooze the alarm. That man does not leave his goals to memory. That man does not chase shortcuts, avoid pressure, or compromise with distraction. That man honors his time. That man guards his thoughts. That man protects his standards. And in doing so, that man programs success into his DNA. He does not need to remind the world who he is. His consistency speaks louder than any words. His discipline echoes through every result. His habits announce him before he enters the room. That is the power you now hold. But it must be held daily. So here's what I ask of you. Choose one habit today. One behavior that reflects your highest self. One standard that reflects your future. And follow through. Not because you feel like it, because you said you would. And tomorrow do it again. And the next day do it again. And every time you repeat that behavior, say to yourself, this is who I am now. Because eventually, it will no longer be something you say. It will be something you live. That, my friend, is how success becomes automatic. That is how you build an identity that cannot be shaken. And that is how you walk into every room, every challenge, every opportunity with the calm, steady confidence of a man who doesn't need to chase greatness, because he already embodies it. So go now, not with pressure, but with power. Not with noise, but with conviction. Build the habits. Keep the standards. Walk the path. And never again wonder if success is coming. Know this. It's already on its way, because you become the kind of person who always meets it.